Picture this. It's Chicago in 1886, a time when the city is buzzing with activity. Workers are gathered at Haymarket Square, protesting long hours and unfair conditions in workplaces. It's a moment where they finally decide to unite and demand change. However, what should have been a peaceful demonstration soon turns chaotic as the police arrive in force, ready to break it up. The air is thick with tension, and the events that follow are about to transform history.
But what exactly led to this dramatic turn of events? Why did workers feel so strongly that they needed to stand up and fight? In this podcast, we're going on a journey to uncover the roots of this protest, explore its impact on the labor movement, and understand the aftermath. So stay with us as we dive deep into this pivotal moment in history and reveal the secrets behind the Haymarket affair.
Welcome back. The Gilded Age in America was a time of rapid change, starting after the Civil War. This era saw a huge shift from farming to more factory-based industries. Before this period, most people worked on farms or as skilled craftsmen. They could take pride in their work and were often central to their local communities. However, the rise of factories changed everything. Many lost their independence as skilled labor was replaced by repetitive factory work, which wasn't as fulfilling.
Exactly. As machines took over, the work that needed skill became less common. More and more people were taking jobs that required no particular skill. This shift was even harder because there were lots of immigrants coming to America, all looking for a job. This created competition and increased tension. Factories were not just monotonous but also dangerous places to work. Day by day, doing the same task made workers feel like they were just part of a machine, and you can see why they became so discontented.
The changes in industry led to a lot of personal struggle for workers. They faced long hours and low pay, which made life really tough. Imagine working all day, every day, with barely enough money to survive. There was little room for any personal fulfillment outside of work, and this really ate away at people's spirits. As everything changed around them, workers started to feel like they didn't have control over their own lives anymore.
That's a very important point. The monotony was just one issue, but the working conditions were often incredibly unsafe as well. Injuries and accidents were far too common, leading to a very unsettling work environment. These difficult situations pushed workers to start thinking about how they could change things. They began to question how they were being treated and whether it could be different. This growing discontent was one of the key factors that led to the protests, as people finally stood up to demand better working conditions.
Let's dive into the events leading up to the Haymarket Square gathering. On May Day, a massive wave of protests spread across America. Workers from different sectors united in demanding an 8-hour workday and better conditions. It was a national call for justice. In Chicago, the McCormick Reaper Works became a focal point. This factory, like many others at the time, treated its workers terribly, with little pay and long hours. The owners refused to listen to the workers' demands, pushing them to take action and participate in these protests.
Yes, and that's where things started to heat up. The factory owners were not just ignoring the demands, they actively tried to crush the spirit of the workers. They hired replacements, known as scabs, to take the jobs of those on strike, which only added to the tension. Then, when the police shot and killed a worker at one of these protests, it was a tipping point. This act of violence was a catalyst for the mass meeting at Haymarket Square. Workers felt they had no other choice but to gather again, to stand against such brutal treatment and to fight for the change they desperately wanted.
So, as the protests gained momentum, we see the rise of different unions stepping into the picture. The Knights of Labor was one of the earliest groups, trying to unite all different types of workers. They welcomed everyone, skilled or unskilled, men and women, even immigrants. Their aim was broader than just fair wages or better hours. They had a vision to reform the entire capitalist system. Quite ambitious, right? They wanted to change how the whole system worked, which made them stand out.
Yes, they were indeed idealistic, but being radical came with its own set of problems. At that time, unions weren't legally recognized and were considered illegal. That made it tough for them to organize without facing great adversity. Still, the Knights of Labor managed to bring together a lot of people. On the other hand, the American Federation of Labor, or AFL, led by Samuel Gompers, took a more practical approach. They were more focused on immediate gains like better pay and safer conditions for their members.
Right, and the AFL was quite exclusive compared to the Knights of Labor. They only allowed skilled workers to join, focusing on things like carpenters, bricklayers, and other skilled trades. Gompers believed in working within the capitalist system rather than trying to overthrow it. His strategy was more about bargaining for better conditions while acknowledging the system they operated in. This approach made the AFL more appealing to many business owners who were willing to negotiate.
Exactly. Even though they had contrasting goals and methods, both unions faced similar challenges. The legal system and many business owners were not supportive. Conditions were still terrible for most workers. The unions, through their various struggles, fueled awareness and slowly started bringing about some changes. That's when figures like Mother Jones came into play. She wasn't part of the mainstream leadership, but her advocacy and influence were instrumental. She supported strikes, challenged authorities, and spoke up for workers' rights fearlessly.
Imagine the scene. It was the evening of May 4th in Chicago, and there was a feeling of tension in the air. Many workers gathered at Haymarket Square, driven by the need to stand against unfair conditions. Samuel Fielden was one of the last to speak, sharing his thoughts as the sky turned gray and rain fell. This only made the mood more somber, with the rain almost a sign of the coming troubles. As the workers listened, they knew the challenges ahead of them.
Right. And as Fielden spoke, the police were never too far away. They showed up in numbers, telling the crowd that they needed to go. This only added to the stress of the night. And then, suddenly, in the midst of this tense situation, a bomb exploded. The noise echoed around and chaos took over. It was a terrifying moment that left everyone shocked. The police reacted quickly, with gunfire exchanging across the square. It was hard to know where it came from, creating a scene of confusion and tragedy.
This bomb and its terrible impact changed everything. It resulted in the tragic loss of several police officers' lives and injured more. With such horror, it was impossible to figure out who was responsible. Everyone wanted to know who the bomber was and why they would cause such destruction. The aftermath was nothing short of a nightmare. It became the night that marked the beginning of greater obstacles in the workers' movement, spreading fear throughout the community.
Absolutely. And the unknown identity of the bomber only deepened the mystery. Many were left to wonder if the person who caused such chaos would ever be found. What we do know is that the event shook the international workers' movement. It made the already difficult battle for workers' rights even more challenging. The Haymarket Riot, as it came to be known, painted a thick cloud over the efforts of unions, making everyone question who their real enemies were.
Let's dive into the aftermath of the Haymarket event, a turning point that really shook the public. Once the news of the bombing spread, there was a whirlwind of anger and accusations. The public and media were quick to demand answers, and this led to a trial that would be remembered for its bias and injustice. 8 anarchists were put on trial, including Samuel Fielden and other immigrant leaders who were known for their radical ideas.
That's right, and the trial itself was a spectacle. The authorities wanted someone to blame, and these anarchists were easy targets. There was little evidence tying them directly to the bombing, but that didn't seem to matter. The judge and jury were clearly biased against them. It was a dark moment for justice as the outcome was already decided. The conviction of these men wasn't just an attack on them, but on any hope for fair trials in similar cases.
The verdict was harsh. 7 of the anarchists were sentenced to death. But what's interesting is that later on, the government realized the lack of evidence and acknowledged the trial's flaws. In a move to try and correct past wrongs, the governor eventually pardoned some of the accused. Yet by this time, the damage was done. The trial had a chilling effect on the labor movement, particularly hurting the Knights of Labor, which found itself blamed and weakened as a result.
Indeed, the Knights of Labor could never really recover. Their downfall was a huge setback for workers trying to make a change. Despite their decline, the labor movement didn't die. It evolved. Other unions took up the cause, like the American Federation of Labor. Though they continued facing adversity, These unions carried forward the fight for a fair and just working environment. The Haymarket Affair had lasting repercussions, shaping future labor actions and public perceptions.
As we step back and look at the long-term effects of the Haymarket Affair, we can see a clear shift in public opinion over time. Initially, public reaction was largely against those who were perceived as radicals, but as the years went by, understanding grew about the challenges workers faced. Memorials were erected not only to honor the police officers who lost their lives, but also to recognize the anarchists and their fight for better labor conditions.
Yes, and these memorials reflect a society beginning to come to terms with this complex moment in history. While the Knights of Labor struggled after the Haymarket event, the American Federation of Labor played a significant role in advancing labor rights. They focused on practical changes and achieved real progress. Their efforts contributed to labor reforms that shaped the modern work environment, like the 40-hour work week we often enjoy.
And these achievements were not just about working hours. They extended into broader labor laws and protections that improved the lives of countless workers. Labor Day, for example, became a national acknowledgement of these struggles and victories. Despite the fear and challenges they faced, these early labor movements paved the way for modern labor rights and improved conditions for workers around the world.
Exactly. It's impressive to consider how these struggles led to societal transformations, emphasizing the value of perseverance in the face of adversity. We need to remember that these changes didn't come easy and took a lot of effort and courage from those involved. Reflecting on these historical lessons reminds us of the significant progress made and the importance of continuing to fight for workers' rights today.
As we conclude our exploration of the Haymarket Affair, let's take a moment to appreciate the resilience and courage of those workers. They stood up against harsh conditions to advocate for rights that many now take for granted, such as fair wages and reasonable work hours. Reflecting on this, we can see how their sacrifices paved the way for the labor rights we enjoy today. Their story is a vital lesson in perseverance and the importance of fighting for justice.
The Haymarket incident teaches us that the fight for workers' rights is ongoing and remains as important today as it was back then. We invite you to stay with us on our journey through history, as understanding the past is crucial for shaping a better future. Your engagement helps us continue these explorations, so please take a moment to like and subscribe to our podcast. We look forward to having you with us on our next historical adventure.